to Panel's Choice. Here we ask each panel member to pick a topic from this week that they feel is important to discuss. We will start with Shay's pick. President Biden is ready to sign us up for a global tax that burdens America.
Poland signed up to become a member of the EU, joining in 2004. After many years of negotiation, it knew what it was signing up for. It was signing for a value of shared common values, values based on certain freedom, certain independence, but also values based on a respect for collective European values and notably collective European rule of law, the European Constitution. What we're seeing here is Poland going rogue in the view of its critics. And this isn't something that just started earlier this month. We've been talking and making a lot of, and rightfully so, of the decision by Poland's constitutional court, essentially, to rule that its laws have primacy over those of Europe.
Dr. Shay, what does this mean for America and what does it mean for the world at large?
So this clip in Poland is an example of what can happen to America if we keep going in this extreme globalist outlook that Biden administration has. And the global tax, it's a minimum corporate tax rate. This is one of many examples of this. This tax rate, just offhand, is not a good idea because it eliminates tax competition, which will ultimately hurt American workers and consumers. But let's just set that aside for 1 second. The authority that you give over to an international body, for example, in this instance, your financial issues, your taxes, that authority takes it away from the United States and puts it in the hands of an international body. In the case of Poland right here, a Polish tribunal, constitutional tribunal, decided that EU law, or two main points of EU law, doesn't coincide with Polish constitutional law. You know, imagine that, right? And that Polish law actually has supremacy over the EU law. Well, the EU disagrees with that and is actually talking about penalizing Poland by withholding billions of dollars of funding from them, as well as imposing financial penalties against them. The media calls Poland, that they've gone rogue, and has actually said that they're in a period of democratic backsliding. So this is just a warning to us. And let me be clear. I believe that there's a place for international organizations and agreements. They've done a lot for human development and economic development, but it's got to be a balance. We cannot give up U.S. national sovereignty over to international organizations, or that's what can happen to us.
Very interesting. Thank you so much for the topic. Next, we've got Horace's pick. An arrest of a Maryland couple for attempting to sell American nuclear secrets brings to light a left-wing network of spies, particularly couples, husbands and wives, that is extensive and widely underreported. Horace, interesting topic. What is this network of spies?
Well, a couple things here. One is we've been watching in America how progressives have attacked America, have attacked its history, have attacked its origins. And very little conversation has been about, does that mean that that's legitimate criticism, or is that a sign of significant dislike or even hate for America? When you look at espionage and treason, what you should understand is the people who do this kind of behavior hate our country. The irony to me is that we don't see much coverage in the media. This particular couple, we can see, if you look at their social media, all of their woke postings, and I looked up and decided to do a little background. And I looked at the Aldrich Ames case, I looked at the Robert Hansen case, I even went all the way back to the Rosenberg case. And what you see are couples working together in tandem, couples who dislike America, who reject what America stands for. My question, I think that's important, is why isn't the media asking people who act in ways that reject Americanism whether or not they are more likely to behave in this way?
That's a really interesting theory about it. Do you think that the intelligence agency as a whole just has gone liberal, and so couples that engage in this are just more liberal, or what is it that's causing this?
Well, a couple of things are that the intelligence agencies and the official government line is that these individuals sold out for the money. They did this not because they had any political axe to grind. The Rosenbergs, which the left even today continues to deny their clear culpability, they have helped to create the very global nuclear threat that all Americans face today, and they did so not because they wanted to make money, they did so because they rejected what America is. Our intelligence community appears to want to deny that, while the official claim is made by the Biden administration that the biggest threat in America is white American men who are right-leaning and are posing the greatest threat. It does not appear that the evidence bears that out at all.
So fascinating. Thank you so much for the topic. Next, we've got Chris Farrell's pick. Records from the Metro Police reveal new information and questions about U.S. Capitol Police shooting of unarmed Ashley Babbitt. What you got, Chris?
There was only one homicide on January 6th, and that was a D.C. police officer, a Lieutenant Byrd, who shot and killed Ashley Babbitt. That's the one and only death by firearm. We had to sue to get these records. The District of Columbia Metropolitan Police, the Capitol Police, the D.C. government, Pelosi and company all wish to hide the facts concerning the shooting death of Ashley Babbitt. One thing is clear. At no point in any of the documentation that we have, and it's hundreds of pages of documentation, interviews, the administrative process behind what happened, at no point does the officer or any of his colleagues say, "I feared for my life," or "I feared for the life of another person," which normally is the threshold for using deadly force. Whether you're a private citizen or a law enforcement officer, there's got to be the imminent fear or expectation of grievous bodily harm or death. You just don't go around shooting somebody because they're loud and noisy or they're crouched in a windowsill. And all the documentation also shows that the other officers interviewed said Ashley Babbitt did not have a weapon. She was braced up in a window frame, that she posed no threat to anyone. And so we've now exonerated an officer who at no point does he say, "I feared for my life," or "I feared for the life of somebody else. I had to take this action." He didn't even warn her.
What was the justification, or what is the justification giving for shooting her?
Well, it was really crazy and hectic.
Right.
And so, maybe there'll be more documents released that show something else, but right now there's no good lawful reason for taking Ashley Babbitt's life.
And there's video to prove that she was no
And a quick
threat.
point on this, very quickly. This has not come out yet, but when you look at that situation and you look at this officer's history of mishandling his firearms, I would say that what we were looking at is an example of a negligent discharge, that the officer was so overwhelmed with the situation and so poorly trained, and that doesn't mean he's not culpable. In fact, he's even more culpable, that he was running around, he took that shot. I think if you look at the situation, even the worst trained officers in the country would never take that shot because of the proximity of other elected officials and other law enforcement officers. I believe it was a negligent discharge. That's why you don't hear anything about his
best,
reason.
or murder at worst.
And imagine,
No, it is still murder.
True,
It is still murder.
imagine other police shooting incidents around the country
Yeah.
where the officer's identity was hidden for months.
Right. And that's the part that.
And you won't see it.
But we got to get to Andrew's pick. GOP Senator Ron Johnson, Rob Portman, and Rick Scott hosted a roundtable on the border crisis this week. Listen to what Rodney Scott, the former Border Patrol chief, had to say.
That the border is not secure, and the border is clearly less secure today than it was in January of 2021. Further, I want to highlight that in my professional assessment, the reason the border is less secure is directly related to policy decisions that are being made.
Andrew, your thoughts?
Yeah, there is no doubt that what we are dealing with on the border is the direct result of deliberate policy decision-making. This is not a matter of just of incompetence. It's not a matter of not understanding the operational environment. It is deliberate decision-making. When you look at the numbers of illegal border crossings, just by CBP's own numbers, by DHS's own numbers, we're looking at through August, just through August, 1.7 million illegal crossings. So we're looking at about well over 200,000 a month. This shatters all previous records. And then when you look at how these individuals are being processed and what the incentive structure is that is being set up on this side of the border, it is very clear that this is deliberate. Right. And, we could debate why, but I think there is no doubt that it is time for us to accept that this administration has a set of goals in terms of bringing in whether it's new population. We could talk about the reasons why, but this is clear evidence that the administration is fostering this sort of illegal activity.
They're getting the results that they want.
They absolutely are.
All right, don't go anywhere. When we come back from the break, we've got Don't Be Fooled and my closing argument. We'll be right back.